So another day, another brand new Marvel Games announcement. Midnight Suns is a tactical RPG made by the creators of XCOM and set to release in March of 2022. Though it takes creative liberties, it appears to take heavy inspiration from Marvel Horror and the Midnight Suns franchise. Now I've noticed there are a lot of Marvel fans who are excited about the game, but aren't exactly familiar with many of these characters. So in today's video, I'm going to give some reading suggestions on comics you can check out to prepare yourself for the Midnight Suns video game.
Stars and Stripes!
Hello and welcome to another Carrot Scraps video, and by another, I mean the 77th. So, it's disclaimer time, we do it every video, and this video is no different. Before we jump into the video, keep in mind I know very little about this game. I've seen as much as you have in the form of the trailer, and so all of my predictions and assumptions are about what I saw in that 2-minute preview. Well, 2 minute and change. It's a little bit more than 2 minutes. It's around the 2-minute area, okay? Why do you always have to nitpick what I say? Jeez. Also, keep in mind, this is not a comprehensive reading list. They're just comics that came to mind when I saw the characters and general tone of the trailer. And they're comics that I thought that people who are new to the franchise would enjoy. Also, most of the footage you'll be seeing in this video will be me playing as Iron Man in Marvel's Avengers, and I'll be wearing his black and gold suit because I think there are obvious similarities to the Iron Man we see in the Midnight Suns trailer. So I hope you're comfortable with that. Lastly, keep in mind that most, if not all of these comics can be found on Comixology or on Marvel Unlimited. And as a reminder, Marvel Unlimited is what I like to call the Netflix of Marvel Comics. Pay a monthly or yearly fee to read thousands of Marvel comics, hashtag not sponsored. Now, even though I buy physical comics regularly, I still have a subscription to Marvel Unlimited. It's just that convenient, and I highly recommend it. Anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's get into my recommendations. So first things first, let's talk about the iconic story that started it all. The original Rise of the Midnight Suns comic event crossed over between Ghost Rider, Spirits of Vengeance, Morbius, Darkhold, and the Night Stalkers. It featured a very different team than we see in the new game, including 2 Ghost Riders who are still not the Ghost Rider we see in the trailer, but it's definitely worth checking out as a foundation for the team. This is an especially good read because it also features Lilith as an antagonist who we will be seeing in the full game. On a side note, I'm a pretty big Morbius fan, and the cover from this event is somewhat iconic to me. Morbius is the Spider-Man villain known as the Living Vampire, and I feel he's intrinsically linked to the legacy of the Midnight Suns. Morbius is a really fantastic character who hasn't had a lot of AAA comics in recent years, in my opinion. I think his most recent book has done the best with his character from what I've seen, but his previous solo title did have some cool moments as well. But I think if you're looking for Morbius goodness, the 90s series is definitely where you want to go. But Morbius isn't in this game, that we know of anyway. So let's move on and talk about characters that are confirmed to be in Midnight Suns. Starting off with Logan himself, the Wolverine. Not really the first character that comes to mind when I think of the Midnight Suns, but of the new characters on the team, I definitely think he makes the most sense as a new addition. He's grisly, he's dark, he can dance with the ghouls. What does that mean? You know, Wolverine can dance with the ghouls. That's a prerequisite for being, on the Midnight Suns. Anyway, the first series that came to mind when looking at this version of him was the Dark Reign era for Wolverine. He clashed a lot with his estranged son at the time, and I feel like these were very brutal comics. The other book that came to mind for me was his Marvel Now series. This was the series that preceded his temporary death, and it removed his healing factor. As a result, I felt like his costume was way more bulky, and it kind of reminds me of his armor that he's wearing in the trailer. Moving on, Iron Man is one of the more interesting characters to add to the team, and I don't have a lot of suggestions for him. That being said, I also recommend the Marvel Now series for Iron Man because I feel like it's a safe bet in terms of inspiration for the development team. Now, I can't say that for sure, but this was the era where he heavily used the black and gold costume, which we see a very similar version of in this trailer. In addition to the costume, I feel this run, especially in its early issues, tackled more magical and supernatural threats, which isn't necessarily common for Tony, but would definitely be more common if he was a member of the Midnight Suns. And let's continue this Marvel Now kick that we're on by talking about Ghost Rider. Now, I've seen a lot of people react to the Ghost Rider in the trailer with a little bit of confusion. For those who aren't aware, this is a legacy Ghost Rider known as Robbie Reyes. He's still a fairly recent Ghost Rider in terms of Marvel continuity, but he's also been around for a while at this point. He's a teenager who takes care of his brother and has even become an Avenger in the recent iteration of the team. Something notable about him when compared to his predecessors is that he drives a flaming car instead of a motorcycle. And he's actually showed up in a number of comics, and he's made an appearance on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think he's a really cool character, and I'm glad he's getting more attention, and if you want to learn more about him, I think the Marvel Now series is the best place. Or you could check out the Jason Aaron Avengers run. And speaking of the most recent iteration of the Avengers, did you know that Blade joined the team during the Jason Aaron run as well? It's true. See, he does the ghoul dance as well, and he can dance with the Avengers. Why am I so focused on this dancing thing? I need to move on from that. The Avengers were facing a global vampiric threat in the form of a vampire civil war, and they accepted the aid of longtime vampire hunter Blade. This Avengers run has been pretty interesting in general, but this is definitely one of the highlights of the book. It's something I talk about a lot, and I highly recommend to check it out to see Blade in a different team atmosphere. And on a non-comic book related note, if you haven't watched the original Blade movie in a while, do yourself a favor and do it. It's like such a great movie, and I guarantee it's better than whatever you remember it being. If you thought it was bad, it's better than bad, and if you thought it was good, it's so much better than good. It's fantastic. Come on, go watch Blade. Okay, we gotta move on. Now, I'm sure there are more people that are familiar with Runaways since the show came out several years ago, but the Midnight Suns trailer also featured Nico, formerly of the Runaways, also known as Sister Grimm. Now, Runaways is one of my favorite comic books ever written. It is not good, it is incredible. Specifically, if you want to talk specifics, because I know you and I know you want to talk about specifics, the original series, the first run of Runaways is fantastic, and the most recent Runaways comic book has been consistently one of my favorite Marvel comics being published. And then, stuff happens in between those, two publishing years. But that's a pretty good bookend. The start to the finish, if they're that fantastic, I feel like that's a good recommendation. Am I wrong? Anyway, Runaways is fantastic. It introduces Nico to the Marvel canon, and she will be featured in this game. The tone of Runaways, I assume, is going to be very different than what we're going to get in this game and what we see in other Midnight Suns comics. But if you're looking to learn more about Nico, this is the perfect place to go. Moving on, Illyana Rasputin is also in this game, and she is one of my favorite Marvel characters. She is one of my favorite Marvel mutants, and she's just one of my favorite superheroes in general. Featuring characters like Nico and Illyana are two of the reasons why this game has elicited such a violently positive response from me. Is that an okay thing to say? I don't know. Anyway, she's a really fantastic character and has been featured a lot over the years, especially in multiple team books. And of course, she's the sibling of notable X-Men Colossus. But I can't think of a better primer for Illyana than the original Magic miniseries that explains in 4 issues who she is and how she became the character she's known as today. And in general, you can't go wrong with 80s X-Men, especially by Chris Claremont. That kind of stuff is a perfect storm for creativity, and the book is a work of art, okay? It is a little bit of a wordy comic book, but it is such an important book for the character, and it's one of my favorite comics ever. But let me give a secondary, more modern recommendation in the form of what if Magic was the Sorcerer Supreme? Especially since I didn't recommend any Doctor Strange stuff, I feel like this would be a fun read for people who are interested in the game. You get it's kind of a 2 birds, 1 stone situation, Also, quick reminder that Illyana was briefly trained by Doctor Strange in the main comic book continuity. I'm telling you, she's cool. She doesn't get any cooler. She invented the ghoul dance. Forget about knowing the ghoul dance or being competent at it. She invented it. What is the ghoul dance? Why do I keep bringing that up? Lastly, let's take a hard left turn and talk about a character who probably won't be in this game, but who I would love to see. To me, they represent everything that is Marvel horror, and so I wanted to give them a quick shout out. Read Man-Thing comics. There are some great collections on Comixology that just collect the original 70s books and introduce the character. He's a human who becomes a swamp creature, and if you fear him and touch his skin, you will be set on fire. What is more metal than that, I ask you? Nothing. There is nothing more metal than that. I feel like this character is not out of the realm of possibilities in terms of seeing them in this game, and so I wanted to give them a quick shout out. So those are my recommendations for now in terms of books you can get that get you in the mood for the new Midnight Suns game. We still don't know a whole lot about the game, but I tried my best to give you some diverse reading that should at least tangentially be related to what we saw in the trailer. Who knows, maybe I'll make another video updating my reading list if we get to see more soon. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. If for some reason you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and to subscribe to my channel for more. As regular viewers know, I make a wide variety of content on my channel, and I'm always going to make the videos that I want to make. But if you see something you like, make sure to let me know, and I'll try to prioritize that kind of content in the future. August is almost over, which means that the first month of Carrot Comic Book Club has almost come to an end. And as a reminder, if you want to participate, make sure to read all new, all different Marvel's Avengers, number 1 through 3. And if you share your thoughts on the book with me, you might be featured in a future video. Anyway, if you want to watch me play Marvel's Avengers or other Marvel games live, check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/carrotscraps, and all my other social media, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, are at carrotscraps as well. I want to thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Electrolytes are good for you. Electrolytes. Drinking energy, drink down. I'm so good at singing that song.